happened here, and for the third year of this war in Ukraine, and
I gotta put it down here.
my common objective here is to build peace and a solid and long-standing peace. And this is what we will discuss on the street because I have great respect for bravery and the resistance of Ukrainian people. And we do share the objective of peace, but we are very aware of the necessity to have guarantees and solid peace in order to stabilize the situation. And I'm here as a friend because through centuries we've been friends, and we are personal friends, as you mentioned it, because we work very well together. And I think the US and France always stand on the same side, the right side, I would say, of history. And this is exactly what is at stake today. And this is a very important moment for Europe as well. And I'm here as well after discussions with all my colleagues to say that Europe is willing to step up, to be a stronger partner, to do more in defense and security for the continent, and as well to be a reliable partner and to be engaged on trade, economy, investment in a lot of topics. So
This guy used to hate
that's
Trump.
a discussion we will have, and obviously we will follow up.
He still does.
And I want to thank you again, Mr. President.
Maybe he still does, but he needs them.
It meant a lot for French people, and I want to thank you for that.
Because if America didn't bail out Ukraine for the last 3 years, Russia would have ran across Europe like Hitler did. 1939.
And you've done a fantastic job in bringing it back, so I congratulate you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Anybody want to ask a question or two? Is that a foolish question?
Thank you, Mr. President.
It looks like we're getting very close. The deal's being worked on, and we're, I think, getting very close to getting an agreement where we get our money back.
We're going to get paid for helping Ukraine.
It also gives us something where I think it's very beneficial to their economy, to them as a country. But, you know, we're in for $350 billion. How we got there, I don't know. But that's a lot of money, a lot of money invested in. We had nothing to show for it. That was the Biden administration's fault.
That's 1/90th of our national debt that we sent to Ukraine.
In the form of a loan. And the Europeans have been great on this issue. They understood it wasn't fair, and we were able to work something out. But with the Ukrainians, I think I can say that we're very close. Scott's around here someplace, and I think we can say that we're very high, Scott. I think we're very close. Do you have something to say about that, Scott?
We are very close.
Good.
1 yard line.
All right.
Mr. President.
What?
Would a middle deal include a security guarantee for Ukraine?
Well, it'll be, Europe is going to make sure that nothing happens. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. I think once we settle, there's going to be no more war in Ukraine, and you're not going to have it's not going to be a very big problem. That's going to be the least of it.
Mr. President, we're hearing from those in Greek media reporting that the U.S. has agreed to shut down a military base in Greece that's been a logistical hub for NATO.
Who shut down?
That the U.S. has agreed to shut it down at the request of Turkey and Russia. Is that at all true?
Marco, do you have anything to say about that?
Sure, that's a no. That's a no. Mr. President. Mr. President,
No,
it's a no, sir.
it's not a correct statement.
Thank you.
Mr. President, how do you react to people in Europe who say that you are abandoning Ukraine and that you are going to sacrifice the security of Ukraine by making a deal with Vladimir Putin?
You know, we're helping Ukraine like nobody's ever helped Ukraine before. And I can say this, if I didn't become president, Ukraine would right now still be at a level where there would be no one thinking about a peace. And it's a sad thing that this happened. This would have never happened, this war, if I were president.
You ain't lying.
Chance. And it has happened. So my function is to get you out of the war, get them out of the war, let them live. It's a bloody war. It's a horrible war. Thousands of people are being killed a week. And I would say Russia, maybe 700,000 people. I think Ukraine probably a similar number. And that's not talking about the towns and the cities that have been blown up. That's talking about soldiers. This has been a horrible, bloody mess. and we're gonna get it solved. We gotta get it solved. And you know, we're not talking about American soldiers, soldiers from this country. We're talking about Russia and Ukraine. But on a humanitarian basis, we have to get this very, very bloody, savage problem solved. And I will say this also, it could lead to World War III if it's not solved. You know, there'll be a point at which it's not going to stop at those two countries. Already there's such involvement from other countries. And it could really lead to a very big war, World War III.
England said
Let that happen either.
when it was announced that, you know, he has a deal going. Yeah, when he announced he had a deal, England said, we're going to put ground troops in Ukraine. Yeah, so Trump's trying to douse the flames with water, and England's standing there with gasoline buckets going, shh, shh. Let's piss off Russia even more. That's what they're trying to
That'll
do.
be a very good day when we can go in as peacekeepers as opposed to what's going on right now with everybody being killed.
Will they have U.S. backing, those troops going into Ukraine? Will they have U.S. backing from U.S. troops?
Well, we're gonna have a backing of some kind, and obviously, the European countries are gonna be involved. And I don't think you're gonna need much backing. I think that's not gonna be a problem. Once an agreement is signed,
What?
Russia's gonna get back to its business, and Ukraine and
Yeah.
Europe are gonna get back to their business. I don't
Well, she
think
better
it's
watch
gonna be a
herself, or
problem.
she ain't going to be allowed in the White House. Her whole show is based on her being in the White House. Saw what happened to Joy Reid. She ain't going to be on TV tonight.
Next week to sign the agreement.
The thing is,
Which would be
he
nice.
can read all his stuff off his
Would meet at the
papers.
Oval Office. So the
He's the
agreement's being
president.
worked
I
on
don't care
now.
what he is.
They're very close
Hey,
to a
who's
final
he to say
deal.
what you
There'll be a
can't
deal
do?
with rare earths
He's the
and
president.
Various other things, and
That's his house.
It's a free
he would like to
country.
come
That's
and
his
stand
house.
here to sign it, and that would be great with me.
So when I tell you what to do in your house, what do you tell me?
Whoever might approve it, but I'm sure that will happen.
So why can't he make the rules for his house? What
His
the,
house is different, it's for like people.
yes,
the
and
world.
what happens in a press conference is she's trying to push her message through him. What she's supposed to be doing is listening to what he's saying
Yeah,
and then tell the people what he said. Because not everybody gets to hear it. You know, they don't do this all the time. Press secretaries go in and they, you know, they're behind closed doors meetings. He doesn't need, and we don't want her pushing her bullshit when we want to hear what he's saying. No, turn this up a little bit. I want to hear what Macron's saying. I can't understand his accent.
Je pense que ce que vient de dire à l'instant le président Trump est très important, c'est-à-dire qu'il va rencontrer rapidement le président Zelensky pour signer cet accord sur les minerais critiques et les terres rares.
Okay, I think he's
Et que
speaking
c'est
French.
aussi un moyen d'avoir une implication américaine forte. Les Européens sont prêts à prendre leur charge sous des formes diverses de soutien à l'armée ukrainienne.
Is he speaking French or is that just a really bad
S'assurer que
accent?
la paix soit durable. Et l'implication dans la durée des États-Unis d'Amérique à travers cet accord est une bonne chose. Et donc tout est encore à construire. Et je ne veux pas préempter les discussions. Mais nous partageons le même
I don't
objectif.
speak cheese eating surrender monkey, but
Pendant une heure après la visioconférence ensemble.
No, you figure they'd have
sont pour moi des bonnes avancées. Et
the
l'annonce
closed
de-
captioning on.
We've spoken about this just a moment ago. This is exactly what we want to do. We want to build peace with Ukraine. As President Trump mentioned, there are already 1 million dead and wounded in Ukraine since the war.
Oh, they're
began.
reading his-
We had a
what he said
ceasefire
now.
in the past that was not respected. This was under the Minsk agreements 1 and 2. President Trump, as he said, will be meeting with President Zelensky to sign a deal on rare earths. And we are pleased to see this very strong American involvement. Europe, of course, also stands ready to support Ukraine in various ways, supporting its military. And we don't want to preempt any sort of discussions that are currently underway, but we do share the same objective of building this lasting peace.
You know, there's one thing that you'll agree with me on.
So we're at the Eiffel Tower.
This guy and everyone in his team has their shit together.
We came out and he started
Trump
speaking
Trump, Rubio's there, the chief of staff is there. I don't know who this lady is holding the notebook, but every single person that gets referred to for a question, they answer the question in its entirety. I mean, could you imagine if Joe Biden was sitting here right now and his department of the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State had to get on, and the press secretary?
I don't use those words lightly. I think that we're going to see how it all works out. Let's see what happens. I think we have a chance of a really good settlement between various countries. And, you know, you're talking about Europe, and you're talking about Ukraine as part of that whole situation.
Pulled the muscle.
The other side has a lot of support also. So let's see how it all works out. It might work out. Look, you can never make up lives. The one thing you can make up the money, but you can't make up the lives. A lot of lives lost. I think probably a lot more lives than people are talking about. It's been a rough war, but I think we're close to getting it solved.
Question about Doge, sir. Do you think that Doge could benefit from more streamlined communications? There was that email telling employees to give 5 things that they've done last week. Agency heads then told people to ignore it. Elon Musk.
The last email that was sent, where he wanted to know what you did this week. You know why he wanted that, by the way? I thought it was great. Because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to find, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group. So what they're doing is they're trying to find out who's working for the government. Are we paying other people that aren't working? And, you know,
Is it just me, or is that chair behind him
we found hundreds of billions of dollars
yellow up
so
into the
far.
top?
And we've just started. We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the
But the
gold
top is
there.
bright white, right?
Maybe somebody stole the gold.
It's over there,
Tons of
that's
gold.
part of the wall, the top.
So I think it was
Above the top
actually,
of the chair.
there was a lot of genius in
No.
We're trying to find out
Because
if
the
people
chair
are
has a
working.
curve in it.
And so
Yeah.
we're sending a letter to people,
Oh,
please tell
like
us what
this?
you did last week. If people
No,
don't
it's-
respond. it's
This
very
looks
possible
white
that
to me.
No,
there
it's
is
yellow
no
for
such
me,
person,
yeah.
or they're not working.
Some of the agency heads instructed their
No,
employees
it's-
not to respond. They were waiting on further
It's
guidance. But
optical
Elon Musk's
illusion.
tweet said a failure to respond would be taken as a resignation. So there's been a disconnect in communications.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all about that?
Only, no, and that was done in a friendly manner. Only things such as perhaps Marco at State Department where they have very confidential things, or the FBI where they're working on confidential things. And they don't mean that in any way combatively with Elon. They're just saying there are some people that you don't want to really have them tell you what they're working on last week. But other than that, I think everyone thought it was a pretty ingenious idea. We have to find out where these people are. Who are they? And we said, if you don't respond, we
Who is
assume
your daddy?
you're
What
not
does he
around.
do?
And that holds, that stands.
And you're not getting paid anymore, too. So, you know, we're doing a real job. And we just had a poll come out, I guess the Harvard poll, saying that it's massively popular what we're doing. So,
Mr. President, do you still believe in NATO, in the alliance between Europe and America in NATO? Are you going to
NATO is
June?
very much involved in this. When I first got elected at the very beginning, first term, I got hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO. NATO had no money because they hadn't paid for years. And I said, look, if you don't pay, we're not going to be a part of NATO. We're not going to protect. We're not going to do what we're supposed to do. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars into NATO. No, NATO is a good thing if it's done properly and if it's used properly.
Mr. President, in this case, you speak a lot about the tariff in Canada, in Mexico, and Europe. I want to know what is your idea about Italy, if you want to make the same thing.
What? Can you talk up a little louder?
In this case,
Can you talk a little louder? You have a beautiful voice, but you're not.
in this case, you speak
Where are you from?
Italy.
From Italy. Oh, I love Italy.
Where's he from?
Italy.
I want to know if you have the same idea with Italy about tariff.
Well, look, I love Italy. Italy is a very important nation. We have a wonderful woman as your leader, and she was on the conversation today, one that we had, the G7. And no, I think Italy's doing very well. I think Italy's got very strong leadership with Georgia.
Monsieur le Président, qu'est-ce que vous répondez au président Trump qui a dit que les Français et les Britanniques n'avaient pas...
Any other questions out here? Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify what you meant in your truth today on the major economic development transactions between the U.S. and Russia? More
With respect to what, Russia?
in solving a peace deal, you said there will be major economic development transactions which will take place between the United States and Russia.
Yeah, we're trying to do some economic development deals. They have a lot of things that we want, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know if that will come to fruition, but we'd
You know,
love to be able to
Macron,
do that if we could.
He
You know,
doesn't
they
look
have
like a guy
massive,
who has to be there.
It's a very large, it's actually the largest.
You see, he's actually looking around and listening to the questions. And when Trump says something he likes, he nods his head. Now, I'm not saying he wants to be there,
Very good if we could
but
do that. I think it would be a very
like,
good thing for
he's
world
not forced
peace
to
and
be
lasting
there.
peace. Well, I mean, our
He
first.
probably said, look,
By far, our first thing.
I gotta
what
do
we
it anyway.
first
I might as well be
element
nice about it.
The overall transaction is ending the war. But if, just as we're doing with Ukraine, if we could do some economic development in terms of Russia and getting things that we want.
Because if Ukraine falls
something
down,
like
do you
that
know
would be
who's
possible,
next?
yes.
Yeah.
In the
No.
US.
Go ahead, please.
Germany.
And
And once they go through Germany, you know who's after Germany? France.
I would rather not explain it now, but it's sort of self-evident, I think.
The President talked about increasing the tariffs on products from the European Union. Is that still something you want to do today?
Well, it's not increasing, it's reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. So it's not a question of increasing. If they charge us 20%, we charge them 20%. If they charge us 30 or 40%, then we do that too. So that would be on European Union, but that really would be with respect to everything. It's reciprocity. So reciprocal, whatever they charge us, we charge them. Nobody has a problem. Even you, I see you don't have a problem.
Mr. President, are you thinking of going to Moscow soon, maybe in May for the 9th of May for the
I
anniversary?
mean, not soon, but I would be certainly, if this all gets settled out, which I think it will, sure, I would go.
On the 9th
And he'd come here too.
On the 9th of May on the race square?
I don't know the 9th of May, no, I don't, I think that's pretty soon. But no, at the appropriate time, I would go to Moscow.
You know when the appropriate time to go to Russia is? July 4th.
Within weeks? Yeah, I'd like to fly correct, don't you think so? I'd like to ask, I think we could end it within weeks.
Independence
If we're
Day,
smart.
Nanny.
If we're not smart, it'll keep going and we'll
Putin
keep
wants Trump to come to Russia.
losing, young.
I mean, I don't think any of our presidents have been to Russia.
Shouldn't be dying.
Trump was the first president to go to North Korea. But could you imagine if Putin says, hey, Donnie, well, wait, when do you want to come over? And Trump says, Independence Day, motherfucker. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, Independence Day is going to be lit this year.
No, I think they, at some point will agree to that. I think they probably wanted to. And I think once you have a ceasefire, it's
I
gonna
only put
end.
one bucket
Because
in,
they're not
but
going from a
Only
ceasefire
one.
back to war. I think.
do another one when I go out.
They're full. I'm just.
And I'm
I was
about to
able
take a
help
couple
because
boxes
there was no
downstairs.
communication with Russia.
I'm about to take a couple
Until I
boxes
came along,
downstairs.
Biden didn't communicate. He couldn't
You
communicate.
see, I
with
put
his
one
own
away
child.
up top.
So Biden
Yeah.
didn't communicate. He couldn't. It was terrible. He hadn't spoken to Putin in 3 years. You're trying to end a war. People are being killed every week.
What are you gonna
Thousands
do
of
with the
people are being
boxes
killed.
downstairs
Soldiers,
in
in
your
this
house?
case, mostly.
Pile
Also
them on top
towns,
of
you
each
know,
other.
missiles
Yeah,
go
what
in
else?
back and
Just
forth.
sat there.
No,
Well, it's all stuff that's on
it's a shame.
Marketplace.
This should have never
gotta
happened.
know
This
where
a
it
very
is.
sad. This is gonna go down in the history books. This is a very sad moment because that should have been stopped. That should have never started.
I need
And
to,
if
like,
it
write
did
it in a
start,
book.
It should have stopped the
Like,
first week,
put
not 3
an
years.
A
later.
on a box and a B on a box and a C on a box. And then write down everything I have on Marketplace and I know where it is.
Plusieurs questions de votre collègue qui ont été posées en français et qui rejoignent les questions posées par les
Nobody's
collègues
gonna
américains.
tell you.
D'abord,
know.
cette discussion est utile et construire la paix est une nécessité. La deuxième chose, c'est que
I got a lot of
il y a aujourd'hui
followers on
une capacité de dissuasion qui
I got a lot of
reste-
new followers. I got a lot of
Et
followers
c'est
on my
ce que
new
le président
Facebook
Trump
account.
dit, il y aura plus de
So,
problème. Je pense que
that'll
la
help me
force
out.
de l'engagement américain aujourd'hui, c'est en quelque sorte l'incertitude aussi pour le président Poutine. Et donc il y a une capacité de dissuasion qui est là, qui permet de sceller d'abord sans doute une trêve, la capacité à vérifier que cette trêve est respectée, et ensuite
49
un
right
accord
now.
de paix qui permettra de reconstruire
Once I
l'Ukraine,
get
qui apporte aussi les garanties de sécurité. Donc,
500, I can start making money on
nous
Facebook
pensons
too.
que nous avons notre rôle à jouer. Et donc, on verra à ce moment-là la discussion, je ne veux pas la présenter, ce qui
Hey,
est
if Chris
nécessaire
wouldn't have
pour que
fucked me on my
l'Ukraine puisse
YouTube,
rester un pays souverain. Et d'ailleurs, dans les discussions
we'd
entre
be making money already.
l'Ukraine et les États-Unis d'Amérique, il y a cette question d'une souveraineté ukrainienne qui est respectée. Et donc, nous, ce que nous avons préparé en particulier avec nos partenaires britanniques, dans le cadre d'un travail très étroit qu'on a mené ces dernières semaines, et partagé avec tous les pays européens et alliés qui sont prêts à s'y joindre, c'est l'idée de dire qu'on est prêt à apporter ces garanties de sécurité. Les conditions, elles doivent être définies. Elles doivent être définies par l'accord. Ça peut aller jusqu'à l'envoi, comme l'a dit le président, de troupes qui iront et bien respectées, qui iront se positionner, pas sur la ligne de front, pas pour justement, en quelque sorte, être dans le conflit, mais marquer une présence comme une garantie. Il y a d'autres moyens de soutenir qui peuvent être des soutiens accrus de capacité à l'armée, des structures nouvelles. Et je pense aussi que l'accord qui est discuté, le président l'a dit, la crédibilité américaine qui est mise dans ce moment, c'est aussi montrer que chacun est dans son rôle, mais que nous avons une unité européenne et américaine, et donc avec une garantie que les Américains prennent par la discussion sur les minerais critiques qui sont en train de finaliser.
That is the most beautiful language. I have no idea what he's saying, but that is the most elegant, beautiful language. Go ahead, please.
This is a question that was asked by several. What we need to do is make sure that we are building peace. We have deterrence capabilities that have been restored. As President Trump said, there won't be any more problems.
Oh, she's the translator.
U.S. re-engagement and the message that sends to Mr. Putin. We have deterrence, which will allow a truce to take place, verification of that truce, and then a peace agreement can be put in place so that we can start rebuilding Ukraine with security guarantees. And we have a role to play in that. Again, I'm not preempting any discussions, but we've spoken about Ukraine's sovereignty, and that has been a subject of discussion between the U.S. and Ukraine. We have also been working closely with our British partners this week. We've shared this information with other European countries, and we are ready and willing to provide that security guarantees, which could perhaps include troops, but they would be there to maintain peace. They would not be along the front lines. They would not be part of any conflict. They would be there to ensure that the peace is respected.
You're not doing nothing.
Our assistance may include
Playing with the phone.
perhaps.
You're not doing nothing. We're watching.
Credibility here.
We're watching Trump and Macron. Then I'm taking boxes downstairs. And I'm gonna get rid of that.
Well,
I'm gonna take that tote with my hats in
It's just
upstairs.
starting, and, you know, they've been fighting, and there's been a lot of land
We'll
that's
sit down
been
before you
taken,
read my
so we'll
mail.
have to see how that works out as part of the negotiation. I will say there was great unity in that room today.
Who's it from? Larry Holmes Drive?
Skype or whatever, but it was great, tremendous unity today in that room with the other countries. It was very impressive.
Territory is back, can they take it back?
Open a full bank too and see what they want.
I'm not opening them.
That's not an easy thing to do, is it? Right?
$5 free play. Hey, maybe I can make
Asking
some
whether
money.
or not, you can take
Wait.
back the land that they lost. And I
Got
said
$5
that,
food credit too.
Yeah, perhaps some of it, yeah, I hope so. But that's not an easy thing to do.
Macron on the frozen
It's gonna be something we're talking about.
Will you convince Vladimir Putin to accept the European troops as peacekeeper, what do you think?
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've asked him that question.
You talk to him?
I've asked him that question.
Is France going to lift the block on the $300
He's
billion?
not- Look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for
The hell, I got
more
$100.
doesn't mind, but
For what?
I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
Is France going to
Check
lift
for
the block
$100.
on the $300 billion in frozen Russian assets in Belgium? France has opposed unfreezing it to pay Ukraine and compensate the U.S. for its support. Is France
So if
going
you
to
buy something, you can
commit
cash that check?
opposition to that?
This is we speak about frozen assets. We already
Whoa,
had
gold Buffalo
frozen
Bowie
assets
knife?
loans negotiated at the G7. And it's part of the sanctions, so it will depend on the follow-up of the discussion.
See, what I'm telling you is
Clearly, we respect
if
international
you
law.
buy
It's
something
just
for
frozen assets
$30, They're sending you, you're making $70.
It's a 400-ton stainless steel gold
not
buffalo
respecting
rolling
international law, and we want to respect international
How
law.
is one different than the other? If you can take the proceeds from it, how can you not do
Because
that?
it's very different. You keep the assets, you take the proceeds because they are paralyzed in a certain way. You take the proceeds during
It
the war.
seems like the
But you
whole
keep the
world
assets
is
and
starting
it's
to
part of the
agree with
negotiation
Trump.
At the end of the war. Because, I mean,
This guy hated
costs
Trump.
all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia because the aggressor is Russia.
Should the US be compensated?
So at the end of the day, this frozen asset should be part
You're
of the
gonna
negotiation.
delay, I'm sorry, but I am gonna
Will
delay.
France support the US being compensated?
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated because they are the ones who have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So
You know what else I would love to do
if at the
today?
end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with
Knock
Russia,
out some studs
they're
down
ready
in the
to
basement.
to give it to us. Super.
Take out
It would
some
be
wiring,
at the end of the day, and Russia would have paid for that.
strip that bare,
It's okay.
and then one day this week we could go rent a
They get
paint
their money back,
sprayer.
and we don't, and now we do.
Home Depot.
That's only fair.
And we do the whole basement. You won't get any water this spring.
Well, we're negotiating everything, and everything's on the table.
Actually,
We'll
we
see
need
if
some
we can get
concrete
land
patch,
back,
too.
And we'll see about a lot of different things.
Because we should patch the
We're gonna be making
concrete
a little speech in
in that
few
room.
words in
Patch down the
a
side.
little
Well,
while. We'll have
if we
another
patch-
election meeting,
If we patch the
and we'll see you
holes
in about 2
in the
hours.
stairwell
Okay, thank you very much.
and then spray that when we have the paint sprayer, you won't get any water. There's
All right, well, that was a very important.
There's enough
pool spray
paint
in
down
the
there
office with
to
President
do the
Trump and
walls
French President
twice,
Emmanuel Macron, a lot of
and then we'll
news made
do
there, including
along the
President
bottom
Trump,
of the
if I
wall,
read
about a
that
foot around the bottom of
correctly,
the wall,
saying that
because I don't
Vladimir
think there's
Putin
gonna be
has no
water coming up
problem
through
with
the floor.
peacekeeping forces
But
in Ukraine, and that he
if
believes
we
the
do that,
president does,
I don't think you'll get any water
within
at all.
weeks. Emmanuel Macron also very optimistic.
And all
saying
that,
about the
all those studs
possibility
have
of
to
this
come
war.
out
Yeah,
anyway.
very
They're all
interesting
rotten.
meeting, and you saw Marco Rubio, Vice President J.D. Vance there.
I would
as
love
well,
to do
Susan
that, Jamie. I
Wiles.
got my sledgehammer on the
Big
porch.
cast of characters there, and a lot of news
I got
coming out of
safety
that.
glasses.
Also suggesting the
Will
president
ya?
understood
Ceiling
that
has
May
to come
9th
down,
may
too.
be too
Everything's gotta come
soon
down.
for that meeting to happen. Although that could be part
Take
of the
that all out,
negotiation.
we
As
throw
he
it
just
away,
said towards the tail
and
end
guess
there,
what? Whoever buys
everything
this house
is on the table.
gave a free
So
reign.
we'll see what comes of this. They're going to
That
go on to
paneling
lunch now.
that's
They'll meet again, and
on
then they're
the
going to hold that
steps
bilateral
going
news
down,
conference where
gotta get
we'll
thrown
be listening
away.
for more detail on what we just heard.
And the irony of the
And we
bilateral
spray
news conference,
everything.
which will probably happen around the 3 o'clock Eastern time hour, is they'll probably be
And
asked fewer questions than they
when
were
we
asked
spray
in the Oval
everything,
Office pool spray. One of the other
since
things
it's
that the
almost
president was asked
springtime,
about was the
what we should
famous
do is
Musk
throw the
email,
cat in the car,
Musk's email about tell us 5
do a
things that
flea
you did in
bomb
the past
upstairs,
week. If
downstairs,
you don't reply, we'll take
drive
that as,
around for an
that's your
hour, come
resignation.
back, open up all the doors
President
and
Trump saying
windows.
that that email really was designed more than anything to find out if people are actually working. So we'll see. A lot of controversy surrounding that, particularly when you have places like the Pentagon saying don't reply to that email. We're going to handle this ourselves. We'll get an assessment. But Treasury apparently saying yes.
I
Go
like
ahead
that
and,
old
and
guy.
reply to that email. So
Sean
How old
Duffy
is he?
supporting it as well.
yeah, cross
Is
the
it
administration.
Roberts?
Yeah, and Duffy
He's
put
a
out
handsome
his
dude.
own, but across the administration, different views on that email.
All right, John. So surely we'll have more out of the White House shortly. Meanwhile, a registered
Danny, if
sex
he hit on
offender
you at the
accused of
casino, would
taking
you let him buy you a
advantage
drink?
of a public schools
Why
transgender
not?
policy and exposing himself to girls. President of Virginians for Safe Community, Sean
Well-
Kennedy.
Who was that, a girl in the
we need to
rhino?
know
No,
about
that
this
was a
story
guy who was
when he
pretending
joins
to be
us
a
next.
girl.
What's this?
Yeah, that's it.
For parents,
Oh.
those who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and raising children.
Well, thanks for everybody who was watching Trump live.
That we remember.
He's going to be holding a press conference in about an hour. So if you want to see it, hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to go fuck around in the basement for a while. But Nanny's going to call me when he's back on. So if you want to see it, come right back.
Liberty Mutual is all